I hope everybody's doing okay. I was supposed to do this stream a while ago, last night, or the night before last night, I think. But I was really tired, so I'm now getting to the stream. And I know there's a lot that transpired in boxing. Try to take our time and get to as many of these events as we can. Caleb Plant fought a Mexican fighter, and of course, he lost his fight. That overhand right by the Mexican fighter caused his defeat. Couldn't get away from that overhand right as he was trying to shoulder roll it. The guy came looping over the shoulder roll, kept on punishing Caleb Plant throughout the fight. Caleb didn't know how to get out of the shell defense and use the high guard or adjust his distance and change up his angles. And that's why he kept on getting hit with that right hand throughout the night. Kudos to the Mexican fighter that beat Caleb Plant. That was an upset fight in which the challenger proved to be more than Caleb Plant anticipated. And kudos to the Mexican fighter on having that defeat. We've seen a number of upsets throughout boxing now. And so it's not surprising to see this. We've had a lot of upsets lately in boxing. So many, from Daniel Dubois knocking out Anthony Joshua. We had Tyson Fury getting beaten by Alexander Usyk twice. We had Ryan Garcia being beaten by Raul Romero. I mean, there's so many really great fights that we've had in boxing. And still, sadly, the sport of boxing is one in which corruption still plays a role in how fights are judged. But one of the fights that happened over this weekend was a fight in which Keyshawn Davis did not participate. The card was built around Keyshawn Davis versus, of course, the salivating De Los Santos. Keyshawn Davis was supposed to face Edwin De Los Santos, and Keyshawn missed weight by 4 pounds. How do you miss weight by 4 pounds? I'll tell you how. The same way how Ryan Garcia missed weight against Devin Haney by 3.5 pounds. Keyshawn decided to round it off to the nearest pound, so it was 4 pounds. You see, when in boxing you allow certain things to happen, other fighters in boxing will try it. Edwin De Los Santos clearly realized what was going on and called out the fight against Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn Davis said, that he outgrew the division. Thing is, I don't buy that, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to tell you what I think really happened. But first, Keyshawn Davis, he missed his weight, right? He missed his weight by over 4 pounds. All right. Now, after that, his brother, Kelson Davis, fights against Nahir Albright. And Nahir Albright gets the better of Kelson Davis. In fact, he beats Kelson Davis. Kelson Davis, of course, was the favorite. Kelson Davis is in his hometown. We all know the story, right? Keyshawn Davis' hometown. It was supposed to be, his coronation. Of course, Keyshawn Davis lost the IBF title. So anyway, Nahir Albright beats Kelson Davis, who is Keyshawn Davis's older brother. And what does Keyshawn and his younger brother Keon do? They go into Nahir Albright's, into his camp after he's won the fight. And Keyshawn Davis accosts or assaults Nahir Albright and headbutts him. He headbutts him. And it begins a brawl and an altercation and so on. And he went with his son on top of that. Now, I want to show you guys something, because both in the case of Ryan Garcia and in the case of Keyshawn Davis, we've seen aspects of this. And there's a reason why Keyshawn Davis has never said anything bad about Ryan Garcia. Remember when he arranged the talk between Shakur Stevenson and Ryan Garcia, and they were talking with each other? And Shakur Stevenson was trying to get the fight with Ryan Garcia. Keyshawn was in the mix. There's a reason Keyshawn took from Ryan Garcia's playbook. And Ryan Garcia was caught doping. Now, he didn't get caught doping with steroids, even though we know he was using anabolic steroids. And I'll tell you why we know that Ryan Garcia was using anabolic steroids. That's another story. We'll cover it in a minute. But similarly, it seems Keyshawn Davis is also using anabolic steroids. And I'm going to give you the evidence I have for saying this. What Keyshawn Davis did to Nahir Albright is textbook roid rage. Textbook roid rage. What is roid rage? Roid rage is known as steroid rage. It's a side effect of the use of anabolic steroids, which is described as a dramatic mood swings, increased feelings of hostility, impaired judgment, and increased levels of aggression. The term roid rage became popular in the 1980s. Okay, I'm going to show you guys some more, and you guys are going to understand. I looked at the businessman, Keyshawn Davis, and Keyshawn is getting more and more aggressive. Keyshawn crossed the line before. If you guys remember, he crossed the line before, being very aggressive, not hitting anyone, but saying certain things he shouldn't have said. And here he is again doing the same thing. And I'm going to say a couple things about this. But what I've noticed with Keyshawn, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, is that Ryan Garcia against Devin Haney was behaving very, very weird, very, very strange. Talking about he's really, really strong. And the evidence is that he was using a masking agent to cover up for his microdosing of steroids. However, it seems Keyshawn Davis is taking higher doses of steroids, which is why he reacted the way he did. Yes, he was disappointed that his brother lost, but I think there's more to this than meets the eye. And there are a number of different studies out here talking about steroid use in sports, and it's widely used in sports now. And, I truly believe Keyshawn Davis is using steroids. I'm not sure if everybody in Top Rank is using steroids, but I'm pretty sure Keyshawn Davis is using steroids. The way how he reacted wasn't normal. Now I'm going to show you a couple things. Okay. So anabolic androgenic steroids, which normally consist of long-term uncontrolled use of anabolic steroids, several injections over a period of time, roid rage can take place, which includes aggression and emotional dysregulation. So after supraphysiological use of anabolic androgenic steroids, which normally consist of long-term uncontrolled use of anabolic steroids, that is several injections over a period of time, roid rage can take place, which includes aggression, emotional dysregulation, which can lead to depression and paranoia. Use of steroids like corticosteroid to treat pains can cause steroid-induced psychotic episodes, which include racing thoughts, anger, agitation, pressure, hyperverbal speech, and paranoia. Now, I don't know if Keyshawn Davis is taking testosterone or some other anabolic steroid, but it's clear he is using that, and that's why he behaved the way he did with his brother. The effects of roid rage, which is not only seen in humans who take large doses of anabolic steroids, but also when the same or even lower doses are administered to animals like lab rats, include the heavy increase in aggression and the fight or flight response. This was first shown in the study of lab rats, where when the nucleus accumbens and the medial prefrontal cortex of a group of lab rats who were administered anabolic steroids showed no difference in tyrosine hydrolase compared to regular lab rats. But the caudate putamen, a brain area important for behavioral inhibition, motor control, and habitat learning, showed a significant decrease in tyrosine hydrolase due to the testosterone. Indecisiveness is linked to changes in the mesocorticolimbic dopamine system, with anabolic steroids having an effect dopamine function in the mesocorticolimbic circuitry. It's not understood how this specifically affects decision making exactly. This indecisiveness is shown in lab rats, which then turn into aggression, roid rage. Heavy signs of anxiety, mania, and paranoia are also present when roid rage becomes more present in the person taking the anabolic steroids. Psychopathy is heavily increased if a person has underlying disorders for it when roid rage is present, where research shows the connection between substance misuse, abuse of anabolic steroids to violence, repeated imprisonment, and disrespect for authority. Effects of roid rage have chances to be greatly increased in aggression and impulsiveness if the abuser of anabolic steroids has any underlying personality disorders such as borderline personality disorder. Heavy use of anabolic steroids with roid rage can cause heavy distress, as well as depending on how long the steroids have been abused. Okay, so anyway, the point is people can become very violent. Now, there are drugs that minimize the amount of estrogen created as the anabolic steroids break down, and that can help lessen the aggression. So anabolic steroid users can go into a psychosis when roid rage is induced and even start experiencing suicidal ideation. Some antipsychotic medications such as haloperidol have been used extensively to treat the psychosis-induced roid rage. Evidence also exists to support second-generation antipsychotics like lithium, selective serotonin uptake inhibitors, tricyclic antidepressants, and select anti-epileptic drugs such as carbamazepine, as well as a valproic acid. So these people take a cocktail of drugs to control that psychotic behavior that could happen as a result of anabolic steroid use. I say all of this to say that it's a cocktail of drugs that people use to use steroids, and even you ramp up your steroid use, you use this cocktail to sort of control it and control you. I wouldn't be surprised if Terrence Crawford's also using anabolic steroids in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if it's with the Victor Conte program. I don't know if Victor Conte is helping him mask it. I don't know what is going on. But I wouldn't be surprised if Terrence Crawford also is using anabolic steroids. I say this to say, and you need to understand, at the highest level, these guys be cheating all the way. And it's scary and it's sad. I do think Canelo Alvarez also uses anabolic steroids. And I say all of this to say that I think Ryan Garcia was using it when he fought Devin Haney. I think that Keyshawn Davis is using it, and that's why he reacted the way he did. I think Terrence Crawford and Canelo are using it. And I think that's how Terrence Crawford is able to move up those weight classes and be the way, so emphatic and devastating as he is. I'm not saying these guys are not hard workers, but I sense that that's what's going on. I think Bomac, I think Canelo's trainer, and several other trainers are aware of this, and they have regimens that these fighters are on at different times. And I don't think Ryan Garcia started doing drug use out of the clear blue sky. I think he was doing it all along, and I think Tank Davis knew that. I wouldn't be surprised if Tank, even in some way, shape, or form, might be using that in some sort of form for strength training or some kind of PED. I wouldn't be surprised. But I wanted to mention that because I think that's something everybody's overlooking. And it's boxing is so corrupt today that, people have been killed by people who have been using anabolic steroids. And it's something that's still not fully, what shall I say, secured down. A most recent incident with someone who used anabolic steroids, if I'm not mistaken, was Conor Ben. He was the most recent one. And it's sad. I'm just gonna tell you right now. It's sad to see that in the sport of boxing, but this is what it is. This is what it is. And so I wanted to bring that up. We had some other fights that happened over the weekend. We had Jamal Charlo, who beat his opponent to become, I believe he became a champion, or interim champion or something like that, at 168. So he fought his 168 fight, beat up the guy, stopped him. Um, and well, he was supposed to face Caleb Plant. I don't think that's happening anymore, as Caleb Plant lost his fight. But these things happen. We had Abdullah Mason. He stopped his opponent as well. Now, one of the things I noticed over the weekend, none of the referees allowed the guys to finish their opponents. The referee would call off the fight, which was kind of a little bit anticlimactic. Abdullah Mason was putting in that work on Nagataki, or whatever his name is, Nagataki or Nagataki. I can't remember, the African kid. And they never allowed him to knock him out, and also they didn't allow Jamel Charlo also to knock out his opponent, which was a bit anticlimactic. But Jamel Charlo knocked down the guy like 3-4 times. Yeah, but I just wanted to mention that because I saw in all the conversations I've been seeing people online concerning what's going on with these guys. Um, Everybody's talking about it being unsportsmanlike and so on and so on. But Keyshawn Davis, I think he's using something, and that's why he's behaving that way. You look at Ryan Garcia, look at the physique of the guys, and also look at how they behave. And Ryan was behaving really weird, and I think it's just a page out of Ryan Garcia's book Keyshawn Davis is using right now. But I think that he's definitely taking something. That's how I see it. Um, Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. I think it's supposed to happen September the 11th, which would be not Cinco de Mayo. It's another Mexican holiday. I personally think if Crawford can get Canelo to respect his punches, I do think Crawford can win that fight. I think that Canelo has shown us that his footwork, to handle somebody with really good footwork, he still has difficulty with that. And so I think that Terrence Crawford has what it takes to beat Canelo. He just has to keep Canelo honest. You know, he has to keep him honest, and I think he wins that fight. But to be honest with you, I'm not particularly. How do I put it? Those fights really don't tickle me. Those fights are not interesting. I know some people would say Canelo versus Terrence Crawford is not interesting. Terrence Crawford coming up like two weight classes, almost three. When you think of him as coming up from welterweight and having one fight at super welterweight. And I'll say, well, again, if he's using steroids, anabolic steroids to beef up himself, to get himself stronger, to get himself bigger, then what good is that? I mean, it sounds good, but Manny Pacquiao, we know he was taking some sort of anabolic steroid as well. You don't move up weight classes like that and just suddenly take fights and beat guys. It looks sensational. It just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. So when you see things like that, or you see guys trying to supposedly dare to be great, you have to ask yourself, what else are they doing outside that we don't know about? And boxing is a very shady sport. I'm not saying that Terrence Crawford is the only one doping here. I think Canelo's doping as well, but still, it's a sorry state for the sport. You know, trying to keep a clean sport, that's a fallacy. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys. I am what you